This is Khamzat Chimaev. Right after winning the UFC championship, he went straight to meet the president of Chechnya, Ramzan Kadyrov. He handed over his belt and showed his appreciation, saying, "I didn't believe in myself when I collapsed. He brought me back and told me, if you train, you will become a champion." And that's exactly what happened. I'm thankful to him for that. When Islam Makhachev captured the UFC lightweight title, the first thing he did was also pay a visit to Kadyrov. He brought his belt and posed for countless pictures together with him. Another UFC icon from Dagestan, Khabib Nurmagomedov, was also spotted dozens of times in public with Kadyrov. In the photos and videos, they appeared to have a fantastic time joking, laughing, and enjoying each other's company. Khabib's father, Abdul Manaf, even received a car as a gift from Kadyrov. And that's far from the complete list of fighters shown alongside the leader of Chechnya, current and former UFC champions, combat sports legends, renowned boxers, and athletes from across the world have all enjoyed spending time with Kadyrov. Every one of them looked joyful and excited beside him. But all of this raises some obvious questions. What's the mystery behind his power? Why do fighters hurry to praise him and call him a friend? What exactly does he give them? And how does he strike fear into them? And what would happen if someone actually dared to turn down the mighty Ramzan Kadyrov? You'll discover the answers to all of these questions in this video, but let me warn you immediately, the truth is absolutely horrifying. The information for this video comes from the documentary A Biography Written in Blood by the independent Russian outlet Pro. The link is in the description. Kadyrov's rise. To understand who Ramzan Kadyrov truly is, we must look back at his life story. How it all began, how he seized power, and the brutal tactics he used to keep it year after year. It started with Ramzan's father, Akhmat Kadyrov, who with strong backing from Vladimir Putin, became president of Chechnya in 2003, a republic that was and still is a part of the Russian Federation. Akhmat Kadyrov was Moscow's favorite. He appeared to grasp the Kremlin's mindset immediately and looked ready to work under its rule for many years. But eventually he began to show public frustration, claiming his authority was extremely limited. His relationship with the Russian government and with Putin personally began to chill. During one of his speeches, he confessed he didn't even know which powers belonged to him and which belonged to Russian officials, saying their partnership had reached a dead end. In 2004, shortly after this sharp criticism, Akhmat Kadyrov was assassinated at a stadium during Victory Day celebrations. A bomb hidden under his seat exploded, killing him and 5 others. The investigation was closed quickly, and the blame was placed on unidentified militants angry with his rule. Years later, information emerged that sparked serious suspicion about his death. It turned out no one knew about the president's plans that day except for a small group of trusted people. The trip to the stadium was spontaneous and unplanned, which means only someone close could have planted the bomb. Even more alarming was the fact that Ramzan Kadyrov wasn't present despite being his father's security chief and the main person responsible for guarding him. Instead, Ramzan was in Moscow at the time. No one knows what he was doing there. But the very next day after his father's killing, he met with Putin. Off camera, Putin reportedly assured him full backing and the opportunity to take control of Chechnya as long as he stayed loyal to Moscow. Today in Russia, it's openly suggested that Ramzan himself was involved in that terrorist attack, and Many details point exactly that way. Ramzan also had an older brother, Zelimkin, who became infamous not for success, but for heavy drinking, street violence, and even reckless gunfights. His behavior badly harmed the Kadyrov family's image. Just weeks after Ahmed's assassination, Zelimkin also died under mysterious circumstances, and unsurprisingly, his safety was also Ramzan's duty. The investigation ended fast, and the cause of death was never officially revealed. After that, nothing blocked Ramzan's path. He dove into politics, and just 3 years later, at only 30 years old, he won the presidency. Why? Because strong rivals were simply not permitted to run, and Moscow poured unbelievable money into his public image and campaign. That's how Ramzan became the new leader of Chechnya. This story alone shows how ruthless and cold-blooded Ramzan can be, and how far he's willing to go in the hunt for power. But he didn't stop there. Early on, by this logic, Khamzat Chimaev, after obtaining United Arab Emirates citizenship, could have simply stayed in the Emirates and hoped that Kadyrov would eventually forget about him. Additionally, he could have remained in Sweden, where he once lived and trained, and never crossed paths with Ramzan. Again, you might think it was his own choice, but if you look deeper, that's not fully correct. The Kadyrov family has long had enemies in the Yamadev family, another powerful Chechen clan, whose members often held top-ranking positions. Many believe the Yamadevs could one day replace Ramzan as leader. A fierce rivalry existed between the two clans. The Yamadev brothers, who held high positions in Moscow, openly criticized Kadyrov and even created their own armed unit, a decision for which they eventually faced deadly consequences. Ruslan Yamadev was shot in Moscow in 2008, and his brother Jafar was later murdered in Chechnya. But the most shocking killing was that of Sulim Yamadev, commander of the Vostok Battalion, which answered directly to the Russian General Staff. Instead of Kadyrov, Sulim was assassinated in Dubai by a Chechen hitman. What makes this even more unbelievable is how the murder was arranged. Just a few days before the attack, an official Russian delegation visited the United Arab Emirates with a diplomatic suitcase that local authorities were forbidden from checking. It was later revealed that those officials smuggled weapons inside, including a golden gun engraved with the King of Jordan's name. That very gun, decorated in gold, was used to kill Sulim Yamadev. The UAE captured the shooter and issued a warrant for Adam Dolimkanov, a trusted friend and ally of Ramzan Kadyrov and a member of the Russian State Duma. Investigators learned that he brought the weapon and handed it to the assassin. Yet in Russia, the entire case was brushed off as false, and Dolimkanov continued his political career without any trouble. Not long before this, one of Ramzan's former bodyguards turned against him and ran away to Europe. There he filed a complaint with the European Court of Human Rights, accusing Kadyrov of torturing, killing, and kidnapping people. In 2009, that former bodyguard, Umar Izrailov, was murdered by Chechens on one of the busiest streets in Vienna. All of this proves that escaping Ramzan is almost impossible. No matter what country you try to hide in, safety doesn't exist. His hitmen operate everywhere, and for them, brutal violence seems frighteningly easy. Punishment means nothing to them. Orders are obeyed without hesitation. Now imagine how fighters feel when they receive an invitation from Ramzan. Their reasons become painfully clear. The fear on their faces and their unease are not hard to notice. In moments like these, their main goal becomes simple. Compliment Kadyrov, call him brother, and play the role of a loyal ally. The final truth For many videos in a row, I criticized Russian fighters for their ties to Ramzan, believing it was all just about money. But now, I see that many of them simply have no other choice. Knowing the bloody history and the immense influence of the Chechen dictator, one can only imagine what Khamzat Chimaev feels each time he travels to Chechnya and plays the role of Kadyrov's brother. He has no real alternative. Either he risks his own life or the lives of his loved ones. No one is safe. There is no protection. And there is nowhere to run. Kadyrov wields unlimited power, and his cruelty knows no limits. So I'll ask you, do you think it's even possible to escape from this bloody tyrant? Or is the only way to survive through pretense and total submission? And if you were in their place, what would you do?